Today is July 1st, and today is the Independence Day for Canada, where I live, but I am American. So I'm going to be doing this from July 1st to the 4th or the 5th, depending on how long it takes me to read these books. This is my TBR for this vlog, and it's basically 3 different nonfiction history books that will explore America's history. Let's start with the first one. The book that inspired this entire reading vlog is The Glorious Cause by Robert Middlecoff. The American Revolution, 1763 to 1763 to 1789. This is one of the books, perhaps the first one, in the Oxford History of the United States. And I read one of the other ones for the Civil War, Battle Cry of Freedom, back in February, and I loved it. It inspired me to buy this. And now that I have it, I figured what better time to read it than July 4th, especially since I'm stuck here in Canada by myself. Now I am very busy with school, but I'm still going to try my damnedest to get through these goddamn books because it's my personal life and I have a right to enjoy myself. That was a big tangent. So yeah, this is pretty straightforward. It's a pretty thick book. So yeah, it's going to take me about 12 hours at double speed to get through it, but I'm hoping to get through it. Now, these other 2 books I ended up adding on after I first ended up getting this book, 1776 by David McAuliffe, which is another Independence Day historical nonfiction book. That's all I know about it, but it's very popular, more popular than the Oxford History series. So that one's much shorter, should be easy to get through. And then with the most recent surge in the Black Lives Movement, we had the rise of this reading of A Stamp from the Beginning on Instagram, which I have not started yet, so I'm kind of behind considering it's July 1st. But my goal is to get this done by Friday, which I believe is when they're going to have the reading for this. But this is Stamped from the Beginning by Ibram X. Kendi, and this is the definitive history of racism in America. And while it isn't strictly about the American Revolution, clearly racism and slavery is an integral part of American history. So another reason why I felt like it fit really well into this vlog, because it was there from the beginning, right? And even before. So I figured that'd be a great way to get some context leading up to America and then understanding America from then on. So these are the books I'm going to be reading. Right now it is, it's like 2 p.m. I've already started reading. I'm maybe an hour or so into reading today. My goal is to get 6 hours of listening per day. That is at double speed, and at that rate I should be able to finish all these books in 5 days. If I get like 7 hours a day, I might be able to get done in 4 days, but we'll see if that actually happens. So the bare minimum for me is 6. I'm going to push myself to get 6 hours of listening. So right now I am working, even though technically I've had the whole week off because it's Canada Day, while I listen to an audiobook because I'm basically doing some coding, which I can multitask too. That's where I'm at right now. I was going to start with Stamped from the Beginning, because honestly that's the one book I'm most excited to get to, and I wanted to get to it before I risked getting kind of exhausted by the vlog, because I have a feeling I'm going to get tired by the time this is over. But I ended up starting with this one because I found out that the audiobook on Spotify, it doesn't have a way to adjust the speed. And I'm like, no, I'm not listening at a single speed. So right now I'm working on getting it by other means. But in the meantime, I went ahead and started The Glorious Cause. So this book is very dense. There's a lot of background right now. I think I'm only like an hour into it. What I will say is I'm not liking it as much as Battle Cry of Freedom. The Battle Cry of Freedom did a really good job of getting historical context leading up to the Civil War. And while this is doing the same thing leading up to the American Revolution, there's so much information being presented without, I think, a lot of focus. Meaning, I get that it all ties to what's going on, but I don't think the author is doing a sufficient job to tie it all together, because a lot of it just feels like random facts about the past without any real context. I'm hoping I don't get too lost here, because right now a lot of the facts just are hard to I guess, connect. Anyways, I'm rambling. I am going to keep working and listen more of the audiobooks. I will get back to you later. Okay, it's almost 9 p.m. So far, I've gotten through about a third of the book, so I'm about an hour and a half or 2 hours away from reaching my 6 hours of listening today as my goal. What I was hoping to do was edit a video, because I'm really behind in getting videos up, but I've reached this point where I've decided that I'm not going to read less to produce more content, because I just don't have time to read as much as I want to and produce everything as fast as I want to, but I need to get my Queer Lit readathon out. It's been over a month now. Honestly, that was a really fun vlog. While it was a very stressful time in general, I really enjoyed what I read. I liked the footage that I made. Right now, a third of the way through The Glorious Cause. I'm enjoying it, but still not loving it. It's a very dense book, and perhaps I'm being too liberal with my multitasking. I'm trying to read it, listen to it while I work. That kind of stuff is mostly tedious stuff on my computer. It's always a fine line that I have to walk when it comes to asking myself what kind of multitasking I want to do here. Usually the easiest and best way for me to focus on a book is to find type of cleaning to do, the dishes. Really, if I do those are so mindless and they help me focus in directly on the book. But obviously I can't keep cleaning unless I just keep getting dirty, which I do love to eat. It's also a matter of wanting to get work done while also eating to the book. So that might be part of the reason why I feel like I'm getting kind of lost. However, I do think some blame needs to be put on the author because he's presenting a very dense narrative, which I appreciate. I appreciate a good full of fact story, but what I don't appreciate is assuming that we can remember 1,000 different names as they fit into some bigger narrative. I think would have been better if he had basically held our hand a bit more, helped give us a bit more context on each individual and how they fit into the bigger narrative, because it's as if he's expecting us to follow along with the bigger narrative while being able to identify the role of each tiny individual in that narrative. And the result is that we're getting a lot of individual facts, which I can tell are supposed to fit in the bigger narrative, but I don't always identify exactly how they do that. But I'm hoping things will get better, and I'll also probably do less multitasking. I am still really intrigued. I mean, we're a third of the way through the book and we're not even at the revolution yet. So a big part of this is what's leading up to it, and I do think that kind of thing is a very important part of the narrative, so I'm really interested in seeing where it's going to go. We have the Crown trying to control and abuse their power against, or at least supposedly abuse their power against Americans. Americans are just getting fed up, and so we're seeing ever increasing tensions between the two, and things are getting more and more violent, and I can tell we're getting really close to the revolution. I made some really good progress editing my Queerlit Reads vlog. I did not get around to editing my July TBR, so I'm not going to get anything up today, but I was feeling really good about the progress I was making. That is until Premiere Pro crashed and I lost an hour's worth of work. I had made so much progress. Like, I was really in the rhythm. Normally I save my progress, but I was just feeling so into it and really enjoying the process, remembering how much I love the logistics of piecing this creative process together, that I kept saying, I'll save it in a second, I'll save it in a second. You know, just get through this one segment, because if you save it now, it's going to slow you down for a few seconds. And so I just kept doing that. Next thing you know, an hour passed and it crashes and I just lost everything. So that sucks, as in a bad way. I need to keep reading because I have a minimum deadline to reach. I swear to God, I'm gonna go. You're gonna see me on my bike in this vlog. I swear to God, that's gonna happen. Oh, fuck. I hate that shit just happened. I'm not gonna keep obsessing over video. It's not what matters. Reading and work. Reading and schoolwork. That's what matters. It's almost 2 a.m. I'm really frustrated right now because I'm halfway through this book and I have no idea what's going on. I thought I was following along, and for a while there I was. I don't know if it's the book or if it's me. It's hard not to just assume, Josh, you're a shitty reader, because I'm sure that's part of it. But at the same time, I have to put some blame on the author. I've clearly missed too much information to be able to move forward. So right now, I'm DNFing the book. I do not intend to get rid of it. I'm going to return to the book at some point. My goal is to finish these other 2 books and maybe still have time to read this one. Worst case scenario, I'm going to carry this over to Nonfiction November. But it is just too much. Clearly, it's going to require me giving it a lot more attention. I hate doing this, not just because I really didn't expect this to happen. I thought for sure I was going to love this book. That sucks. That's okay. Luckily, I have 2 more books to read. So I'm going to start from the beginning. I'm excited to be reading this. I think this is going to be a lot more interesting and, from what I've heard, more accessible to the reader. I have an ambitious TBR this month anyways. I have enough going on. Clearly, I've overdone it. Maybe I should just start this vlog all over and say, hi, it's July 2nd. Let's do an Independence Day reading vlog of just these 2 books, not the third one that I was going to mention. I'm going to go because I am starting to feel tired and I still want to get some reading in. So catch you next time. Editing Josh here. I just wanted to say that we're now on to the next day. I had a problem with my mic for a couple segments here. I cut out today's morning segment. Last night I had to leave it in because there was too much discussion that was really relevant to why I wasn't reading the book. But to give you some context, we're about to move on to the next day, late in the evening. Apologies for that sound. It should be the only time it happens in the entire video. Okay, it's 7:30 p.m. I finished editing my proposal. I got it sent out. I'm not sure if I mentioned that's what I was working on, but I did. And it took all my time. I'm going to keep working on something else that essentially involves me trying to find a file that has the code I need. That is sufficiently tedious that I can multitask while listening to Stamped from the beginning, which I think I mentioned. I am enjoying it. Forgive me for that audio, the mic wasn't working correctly. But yeah, I'm going to do this. I'm still so overwhelmed with work. It's really quite stressful. And I just made brownie mix and then I ate it after I told myself I wasn't going to do it anymore. It's really, really bad. I keep eating brownie mix that I make from home. I mean, it's delicious. It's an amazing recipe, but God, is it bad for me. So I did the responsible thing and I poured in my sugar in the trash can. I am not going to make any more brownies because I can't make brownies without sugar. I do think I have a bit of an addiction to sugar. No joke. I've gone on sugar diets before where I don't eat any additive sugars. And usually what I do is I get on a routine of eating smoothies. But once I break it, it's hard to get back into it because maybe you know this, but like, it really is addictive. The urge to have more sugar, additive sugar, is really strong, and it's hard not to get it if it's there. Now that I've accepted the fact that I can't live in moderation, I'm not going to buy any more sugar anytime soon. If I want something sweet, god damn it, I'll have a banana. That's my soapbox on all the sugar that I eat. Boo, boo, boo. I'm going to get to work, Angelica. Speaking of which, today's the 2nd. Tomorrow is Hamilton being released on Disney Plus, to which I plan on finding a way to watch that. And I'm actually going to be doing a watch party with friends remotely because in Canada we're still social distancing, at least in Ontario. I did it. I'm finally outside, enjoying the very cool, brisk weather. I'm about 17% of the book. I ended up rewinding it and then slowing it down. There's a lot of detail here and it's being told in a really accessible way, but I just want to make sure that I take my time and appreciate it. I can tell that there's going to be a lot of good information here. There is a lot of good information. And when it's all said and done, I'm going to go to the biography at the back and make sure I look up probably a bunch of new resources to look into after this. And of course, this is going to be a reread. Eventually, I can see that already. But it is an amazingly detailed account from the 1600s to now. Maybe I think it was even the 1500s when it first started. But it is really good. Right now, I'm looking at 8 hours left, which is about where I was at last time. And at 12 a.m., hopefully I'll get through 3 hours before I go to bed. If I'm really lucky, I'll get through 3.5 or 4. But we'll see what happens. I want to prioritize this. But tomorrow, or today, I guess, the new Hamilton comes out, and I'm planning on watching that. I also have schoolwork, and I really have to get a video up. I have to get my July TBR up, which is pretty short. Altogether, it may end up causing this not to get finished right away. I suppose it's not the end of the world that doesn't happen. Goals are goals, right? It's really beautiful, as you might have seen from the footage. My phone, it takes pretty good video at night, but it doesn't really encapsulate the beauty of the moonlight and the trees with the background of the stars. I've said it before and I'll say it again. Biking out here at night is so beautiful. It's kind of creepy. I'm always expecting someone to come up at me, but it is quite beautiful. And right now I'm actually at a different path that I've ever been on. It's a brand new path, and so it's really exciting to learn this new path. It was actually probably, so far I'd say it's the best path I've had all summer. I've taken this path partway before, but there was construction and they finally weren't there today. So I was able to get past it and I'm still going. I don't know how much far it's going to go. I've been biking for what, an hour maybe? I'm not sure. I'm going to make sure I keep going for at least another hour, and we'll see what happens when I get home. I will see you later. Oh, Jesus Christ. I thought about what this would be like many times. Every night I go for a bike ride, well, I was. And eventually something's gonna happen. Something will happen to my bike, and then I'll be stranded in the middle of the night. Fuck. I literally just turned around, and that was only because the path looped me around, and I didn't know how to get back. And then I hit a bump or something, and it knocked my back tire out of place. Like, it's still on there, but it's at an angle now. So like when I bike, it wobbles significantly. I am pretty sure trying to bike home with that much wobble is gonna lead to it falling apart. There's no way that could be stable. So for now, I'm gonna walk. I need to listen to my audiobook anyway, so I don't know what I'm gonna do. I'll probably find a place to lock my bike, and then I will. Fuck, did I come left or right? There was a lot of splits in the path. Yeah, I'm pretty sure it was this way. It is what it is. I mean, I'll figure it out. I'm an adult. Why am I trying to walk with one hand? It's too hard. So yeah, I'm in a fucked position. On the bright side, I'm gonna get to really appreciate the night tonight, because it is beautiful. Weather is spectacular. Oh god, the stars. So, dun dun dun, turn of events. This is exciting, isn't it? I hope it is for you, because it sure as hell isn't for me. You know, I just want to point out the irony of this. An American stranded all alone in the middle of the night in a foreign country during his Independence Day vlog. It's the plot line for a movie, I'm telling you it is. Okay, I decided to leave the bike path for a couple of reasons. One, it's so dark that I did feel a bit uncomfortable walking with my headset in. I'm just like, it's easier for someone to come up at me without me knowing. But also because the path itself is a longer path than it's taking the streets back. And on top of that, because it was my first time taking that path, I'm not even sure I knew how to get back, because there were so many splits in the road or in the path that along the way, I'm not sure I would have remembered which way to go. So I'm here. Luckily, it's a pretty easy walk. There's sidewalks, and I'm making decent track. The book itself, though, is really interesting. We're getting to the time of Jefferson and his presidency and post-presidency, and it's just really interesting to see how people like Jefferson tried to reframe his previous statements and actions. And I think it really highlights the importance of context of people's statements. Like, it's easy for someone like Trump or even Jefferson to say something, but if you don't, you have to compare it to their previous actions and statements to really appreciate whether or not what they said was more than just fluff. I'm gonna keep walking. Yep. Okay, I got about 45 minutes left. I say in the middle of the street by myself, and I talk to myself like a weirdo. The book itself, though, spectacular. There is this one part that we're at now where we see people basically trying to equate lower class black people to the fact that they are somehow lesser than because they don't have as good a work ethic. Basically ignoring the fact that their work ethic only appears worse because of the system of oppression that they're undergoing. The point here is, though, is how starkly it mirrors modern day rhetoric around the use of welfare and other means of social aid as a representation of the lazy black people, basically. And while this isn't necessarily a surprise, it's not a surprise that people have used this rhetoric before. I guess the surprise that I'm trying to get at is how blind people can be in modern day to how everything they say is identical to what white supremacists said in the past. Fuck, there are people on their porch that see me talking to myself. I don't care. I mean, I do care, clearly. What was my point? I guess it shouldn't be a surprise. This clearly revolves around a lack of education. There are things I'm learning about people, important figures that I've never learned before, because they aren't deemed important or relevant to their life. And it absolutely is. Like in the context of Newton and whoever it was before Newton, who identified how white light split into other colors and how Newton always made white the centrist color. How that stemmed from a racist premise. Like that kind of fact, that should be taught every time they teach the color of the spectrum, the origin of that knowledge. I'm gonna stop talking now because there are people around me and I feel weird as fuck. Also, I keep hitting my leg. Okay, I made it home. I'm here. I survived, but I am fucking exhausted. Like, honestly, I'm in a daze. That's how exhausted I am. I need to pass out. I'm also starving, which I know I shouldn't eat, but I'm probably gonna eat a little bit of chili. I have about 5.5 hours left on the book, but I'm really liking it still. We're at a point where we're talking about Harriet Beecher Stowe and the role she played, and the problems with her books, Uncle Tom's Cabin, which I read back in high school, and I did not, first off, I don't remember anything about it, other than the basic idea of Uncle Tom. Also the fact that she was a colonist, what do you call it? One of the people like Abraham Lincoln who wanted to basically deport all black Americans back to Africa. So clearly there were some flaws there. I also found out, maybe I already knew this, I don't think I did, that she was inspired by Sojourner something. I'll put a picture here, but maybe I should read her book if that was the one that inspired Harriet Beecher Stowe. I'm also tempted to reread Harriet Beecher Stowe, see if I can identify the themes a bit better this time, especially after reading this book, but probably not. I'd rather invest my time in something that's less problematic. But it's still interesting. It's an amazing book. So much detail and so well presented in a way that it's really accessible. Way better than the other book I mentioned, The Glorious Cause, which I am kind of resigned to maybe trying to read that. Depending on my mood on Saturday, I may try doing like a all-day binge of 13 hours of audiobook. See if I can make it happen the second time around, if I can just get myself in a position to focus. But that's where I'm thinking I want to settle. That also assumes that I finish this book tomorrow. I probably won't listen much more tonight. Oh God, I'm exhausted. I'll see you tomorrow. Oh my God, I just realized. Okay, it's 3 p.m. and good news, bad news. Good news is I'm down to 5 hours of the audiobook at the start of today. Well, since I woke up. Bad news is I was up until 4 a.m. reading, cleaning, and doing other things. So I did sleep in until 12 o'clock. Partly, I think, because of the bike ride / walk home. But overall, I don't mind that it happened. I recognize that I didn't have to walk all the way home, it was like a 2-hour walk, maybe 1.5 hours. I could have easily locked my bike, called an Uber. There's also a local bus system, which I really didn't want to resort to for both reasons, because of the pandemic. Where I live, there's not a lot of new cases. We're down to less than 200 new cases a day. Still, I don't want to take the risk. I did pack a mask in my bike bag in case something happened and I had to call an Uber. But even still, after going to 2 different protests 2 weeks apart, don't want to expose myself to a situation that will have me anxious for the next 2 weeks if it isn't something that's really important. So I decided to walk home. And honestly, walking and biking, they're both fantastic ways of consuming an audiobook, in my opinion. When I'm sitting there walking, it's a great one of the many ways in which I can just focus on the book straight ahead. So it worked out. Still really loving the book. It's just so well told. I'm glad it is, because this is a book I knew going in that I'd want to read multiple times, like make a habit of, because it's so expansive and so dense. And it's really confirming that. And it also means that I think in doing so, it'll be a very compelling read, if an unnerving one. And I'm also really, really glad that I ended up reading this for my Independence Day reading vlog, because it's so important. I've heard people talk about how they don't want to celebrate Independence Day because of our history, and I've heard others from Canada talking about how they don't want to celebrate Canada Day because of its history with the indigenous population. I completely understand that. I think it really highlights the importance of needing to stop and think about that. I'm still going to celebrate Independence Day in the sense that I'm acknowledging it and I'm saying, yeah, it's Independence Day. But I do think it's an opportunity every year now to educate myself on the harms of our past. One thing I'm noticing here is just, I think I said it last night, there are so many things in the book that are parts of history that have just been ignored because they're considered irrelevant. I think if people were taught these facts alongside the other facts were talked, we would have a better appreciation for our past. I could easily rant about how people who love Confederate flag talk about how they have to remember history when realistically they don't do jack shit to remember history. But that's not this conversation. Nevertheless, I am really enjoying this book. It's 3 o'clock and I have plans with friends at 5 p.m. to watch the Hamilton movie. So I don't think I'm going to get through it today. And I've decided, despite what I said last night, that I'm probably not going to reread The Glorious Cause this time around. I'm going to wait until Nonfiction November probably. Anyways, I'm going to keep working for a bit until 5. And then maybe we'll do a little Hamilton vlogging. If you don't know anything about Hamilton, well, his name was Alexander Hamilton. It doesn't work. I'll see you later. Okay, welcome to a surprise book haul. This is what happens when you order a bunch of books off the book depository in the middle of a pandemic. Things get backlisted and then they just all arrive at once. Granted, I did buy a lot. All Boys Aren't Blue. This is amazing. Look at this cover. It is so gorgeous. I love it so much. Next, Fly Traps. Not a book. Not a vibe. This one was from Thrift Books. I don't usually send them over the border because it's extremely expensive, but the cost of this was cheaper than buying it on Amazon.ca. So it was that, or have it sent to my sisters and get it later. And the problem is I already have so many there. So at some point I have to stop because the more I send there, the more difficult it's going to get to bring them back. And I have to make sure that I don't buy more off Thrift Books than I can actually bring back in one trip without having to pay a bunch. What is this? Victor Laval, A Big Machine. This was a library edition, and I don't know, I would say this is good. I think it might have been very good, but who cares? Thrift Books is great because I'm pretty sure it's almost always a library edition. I'll have to get rid of this top cover, but it's nice. I don't know anything about this. I just know I wanted all of his books because I need more horror, and more specifically, I need more Black author horrors, especially with Halloween coming around the corner. UK edition, which I may not be any different, of Girl, Woman, Other. I've been wanting to read this for a while, and I ended up buying the list and buying it earlier in June when I was hearing a lot about different Black authors, and I was like, okay, I'm just gonna bite the bullet and get all these books that I've been wanting to get anyways. Plus a lot of new ones. Like this one here was one I hadn't heard of. Plus I had just got my, what do you call it? That thing. Stimulus check. And I don't know. I figure like, it's my money, I'll use it on books. Conjure Woman, I read this back in March. You can watch my review. I really enjoyed this. I think I gave it 4 stars. It was really well written. It's her debut novel, Afia Takora. I remember watching an interview with her, and someone, or she said her name, or someone said her name, and I think the T was silent, or the A at the front of her name was silent. I don't recall. You might want to check that out. But this is a novel set in the Civil War era, where we have these 2 Black women, the mother and her daughter, and it follows the mother and her young child, the daughter when she was a child, right before the Civil War, and then right after her mother has died, and the daughter is now an adult. And it's following them in their role as these conjure women, these women who are basically the doctors of their time. Like they're often gone to for things regarding birth or other medical ailments, even by the white slave owners. It was an interesting exploration of a different type of religion, basically, because it is in contrast to the Christian religion, which is actually confronted in this book as a sort of opposing force. What I really liked about it was that it was a very nuanced book. Even the Christians who were basically pushing back against this more classic religion, I guess, were shown in a fairly balanced way that I really liked. We're down to one last one. It's like when you make food and then you're down to the last bit. It's like, it's so sad. Open Season by Ben Crump, legalized genocide of people of color. I actually don't remember ordering this, but I did buy a lot of anti-racist books recently because of my new monthly goal of reading at least one anti-racist book a month. I am trying really hard to resist buying any more. I've added books to my book depository cart, but I haven't ordered them yet because I'm trying not to. That was fun for me. Hope you enjoyed it too. Okay, it's 11:30. I haven't done anything. That's why you haven't seen anything going on. I did not end up watching Hamilton with friends. It somehow got canceled. I did watch a few clips of it because I couldn't help myself, and God, was it amazing. 2 hours and 40 minutes is quite a lot of time to commit. Granted, I just wasted how many hours watching YouTube and doing basically nothing. I mean, I did a little bit of schoolwork, but made very little progress. But now it's 11:30, and I still have 5 hours left on my audiobook, so I'm going to get on that. Chances are the next audiobook is going to slip over into Sunday, but that's okay. If I'm really focused, I can make it work. But look, right now, I've been saying that the last 2 months, and every time I do a vlog, it seems like I'm always failing. Maybe that's a sign that I should roll it back. But I'm going to do my thing. Okay, it's 3 a.m. I've only gotten through one more hour of the book, but I have 4 hours left. The good side here is that I edited my Queer Lit Readathon vlog finally, but since I've decided to do this, it's gonna definitely push Ollie's reading back to Sunday, which is fine. Given that's the case, I've decided I'm not gonna rush through Stamped. I'm going to instead start 1776, which I hear is a pretty easy read, at least compared to The Glorious Cause. And so I'll start that while I do this, because I want to make sure that when I'm reading Stamped, it's with the most freeing of situations. I don't want to miss any of the context. There's already so much that even if you were to study it through and through, there's no way you could possibly remember all this stuff. But I am loving it. I'm at the point where we're at Du Bois. I think it's interesting how we get some context of how even significant figures like Du Bois and Washington were buying into some of the racist rhetoric that was being sold by the people at the time. And I really like how the author puts a lot of effort into giving us context in every situation, and it really highlights the importance of not taking one quote and thinking that defines a person, which I know is very prone for a lot of people, especially racists. I said it. Okay, I'll be back later. It's 7:30 and I'm still awake. I finished editing my video though, like full through. It is processing right now. I don't know what's wrong with me. I have not stayed up this late at all since the pandemic started. But I did get 2 hours through 1776. It's pretty good. I have thoughts, but I'm going to save those for tomorrow. Happy 4th of July. It's almost 3 p.m. I did sleep in a lot because I obviously was up late, but I didn't sleep a full 8 hours in hopes that I'll convince myself to go to sleep earlier tonight. I have made it about 50% through 1776. I'm enjoying it. There are things I like and don't like about it. I like how accessible it is, like it's very easily read. It's told like a novel. There are some problems with that. First off, it's already so short that when he tells it like a novel, he's essentially adding in a bunch of descriptors that aren't really necessary to the overarching plot or the overarching narrative, but they're necessary to sort of, I guess, hook the reader. It's a sacrifice of how much accessibility do you want for how much of the facts. Now, there were a lot of facts in here. Some, like I said, are more tiny details that aren't really relevant, more just to set the tone, and others that are more important. It feels like a white narrative in the sense that he talks a bit about the role of black people and even indigenous people in this revolution, but all he really does is acknowledge that they're there. It's almost as if like he wants you to imagine you're a white soldier there, and this is what you're seeing, this is what you're experiencing. He wants to put you in the moment, but never is that moment in the eyes of a black person or other person of color. And I think that's sort of limiting to the story, but it's still pretty good. I finished editing my video. Like I said, I did have to end up editing it some more after we last talked because there was a problem with a bit of it, but I'm very happy with it. It took a lot of work. I really need to be better about how I plan my videos. So yeah, I'm going to read, I suppose. I can't post my video until I add the captions, or at least I don't want to, and that's going to take a while. So that'll be up today or tomorrow. Hello, it is July 5th. July 4th is over, obviously, and I finished 1776. I made an update earlier today, but my phone messed up and it didn't save the file. I gave this 4 to 5 stars. I enjoyed it. I'm pretty sure I said all the main points I had before, which is that it's a fantastic overarching narrative that David McAuliffe has done a great job putting together in a way that is very accessible, but in doing so, he puts a lot of focus on minor details that aren't really relevant. And in doing so, he sacrifices the ability to really dig deep in other areas. This book is so short. short, and I feel like it pretty much is over before the American Revolution even is. He didn't seem to think that anything significant happened after this one moment. I still really enjoyed it. I highly recommend it if you want to learn about the American Revolution, and I'm hoping that having read this, it'll help make it easier for me to read The Glorious Cause a second time around. I haven't read any more Stamped. I've been a bad reader. It's 4 o'clock. I should have time to finish it. I think I have 4 hours left. I have to figure out what to do for 4 hours because I can't just keep eating and cooking and eating like I like to do when I listen to an audiobook. I would go for a bike ride, but as you saw, my bike is broke. There is no fixing my will. My will is jacked. So that's just great. On the bright side, I get to keep listening to this. Honestly, I wanted to listen to this morning, but I ended up not doing that because I wanted to be able to listen to it without the stress of having to finish 1776. And I'm glad I finished it. This is the gem of the weekend, both in content, but also in presentation. Okay, it is 12:30 a.m. July 6th. I'm going to call this reading vlog closed. I finished Stamped from the beginning. I absolutely adored this book. I looked at some of the negative reviews and honestly, I'm surprised that some people felt like it wasn't accessible. I thought it was amazingly written considering how dense it is. There is so much information, yet it is presented in a way that is so easy to follow that I just absolutely adore it. It's everything I want in a history book. It gives you historical context while focusing on the important things that are often overlooked. There were a lot of ideas here that were either new to me or things that I haven't learned enough about, and it was an amazing experience. It was a tough read. I'm not going to pretend it wasn't, but I think it did an amazing job at outlining how we get from 400 years ago to now. It starts with what anybody today would recognize as blatant acts of racism, and then before you know it, you are in the 80s to these acts that many people try and excuse away as not being related to race. And the way in which he's able to transition from one to the other really highlights how well, I guess, he's telling the story, because it felt like every idea just sort of built on the other one. They got a clear outline of how one racist idea evolves into the next, leading to what we have today. And what I really love here, this huge biography, or this decently sized biography, as a way to move forward. In addition to rereading this 1,000 times, which I really intend to do, I absolutely look forward to digging into the biography further. He references a lot of different things, and there were a few books that I've already ordered while listening to it, but there were a lot more, I suspect, that I'm probably going to get from the biography. There's a lot of research this has inspired me to want to do. I've already started thinking about how I can move forward, what I can do to sort of investigate each of these ideas further. I think the fact that these ideas are running through my head highlight a good book, a good history book. I've said it before several times already now. A good book doesn't just give you the facts, it inspires you to want to learn more. And that's really what this book does. It gives you all the facts you need to make the point while still leaving you inspired to learn more. Honestly, this is going to be one of my favorite books of the year, probably one of my favorite books of all time. Maybe I'm still on the high of just having just read it, but I'm pretty sure I'm going to be reading this before the year is out. It's the kind of book that I feel like you could read 1,000 times and still have a lot left to learn. He did not shy away from calling out racism from people that we aren't surprised to find a racist, to people like MLK or even W.E. Du Bois, who originate with these ideas that are influenced by the racist society, and we see how they evolve into these more solid anti-racist ideas. It blew my mind. I am so excited to learn more about this. I think this is a great way of ending this vlog. The first two books were fine. I mean, the first one was not a good read, at least this go around. The second one was fine. This one was amazing. I definitely think this is something that should fit into the narrative of Independence Day. I mean, this is a part of our history. We need to understand what it is we're celebrating. It's not enough to idealize the good and ignore the bad. It's dangerous. It's how you get things like the Lost Cause of the Confederacy. We may not still have overt slavery, but this book makes it abundantly clear how the system of racism and oppression and murder and harm still very much exists. So I hope you enjoyed this reading vlog, but until next time, I hope you all have a fantastic day and have a good time reading, and stay safe. Bye.